Hello everyone, good evening. Guys, if you can hear me, please give me a yes in the chat box. All right, wonderful. Guys, my name is Mayur and I'm the verbal faculty with Gary Launcher for all international education programs. This is our introduction session for the GMAT. We'll talk about the exam pattern, syllabus, and scoring, and we'll have a look at the verbal question types, which include critical reasoning and reading comprehension question types. We'll have a look at some of the questions, try and identify some of the trap answers. And in case you have any queries, please feel free to post them on the chat and I shall respond. A warm welcome to all of you, people who are already part of the system, people who've joined from Zoom or YouTube. A very warm welcome to everyone, guys. So let's dive straight into it. Why do we need to take the GMAT exam? So a couple of reasons. Of course, it will help you stand out. It shows the admissions officers you're truly motivated, and of course, it is one of the criterias for your applications as well, right? So, and also it prepares you for the rigors of the MBA. So a lot of us are coming back to the academic zone after a lot of time. So it obviously helps you come back to that rhythm. Now, the things that the GMAT will not, it will not assume that you have any specific knowledge of any of the content areas. So all the information that you need to solve the questions is already there. So they do not assume any knowledge. All the information required to answer the questions is already there. It does not measure your achievement in any particular subject area. So they look at your school transcripts for that. And it does not measure any subjective factors either. Now, this is what the exam pattern of the focus edition is. 3 sections where you have data insights, quantitative reasoning, and verbal reasoning. All 3 sections will be for 45 minutes, wherein you have data insights for 20 questions, quant 21, and verbal 23 questions. Roughly the same number of questions in all 3 sections. And 2 hours, 15 minutes is the total duration. So a lot has changed, a lot has remained the same as well. So there is no essay on the GMAT now. And data insights includes your integrated reasoning, which was known as IR earlier. And of course, data sufficiency questions have been clubbed together with the IR, and that makes your data insights. The math section as problem solving as the only question type. Problem solving is a regular math problem where you solve for value. 5 answer choices are given and you just have to select one. Geometry has been removed from your math syllabus. It is primarily algebra and arithmetic now. Coordinate geometry is definitely there. And on the verbal reasoning, you do not have grammar anymore. It's used to be as sentence correction. You only have reading comprehension and critical reasoning questions now. So that is what the entire, the question types going to be. Now you can take the test in 6 different orders. You can decide whichever section you would want to start with. So all options are available. When you start your test, you will be given an option to select one of the 6 options, and then your test will be in the same format. Now you have an optional break, which is for 10 minutes. You can take it right after the first section, or you can take it after the second section. Also, that is totally your call. So while you're taking your mock tests and all, you should definitely decide which order works best for you, right? So try taking the test in all these different orders and see which one are you comfortable with, because that will help you plan and strategize accordingly. Okay. Now, GMAT is what we call as a computer adaptive test as well. So let's try and understand what do we mean by a computer adaptive test. I'm sure a lot of you may have some idea about it. So computer adaptive test simply means that the difficulty level of the test will adapt to your performance. So the test starts at a medium difficulty level for everyone. So it starts with a medium question here. And as you can see, You get your question correct. The next question is going to be harder difficulty level. Incorrect response gives you an easier difficulty level question. So if you get your questions correct, your difficulty level goes up. If you get your questions wrong, your difficulty level goes down. That's how the algorithm, by and large works. Now, other than the difficulty, all the test forms are equivalent. It's a standardized test. Anywhere in the world you take GMAT remains the same. Content length and everything remains the same, right? Now, you do not see any previously administered item, meaning that you can't go back to a question. Once a question is done, you move on. However, on the new test, on the focus edition, you have an option of marking a question. So at the end, when the review screen appears, you can actually change your response to a maximum of 3 questions. Okay. So in each section, you can change your response for 3 questions. If you have time left at the end, you can always go back to them and change your responses. Exposure control simply means that there will be a mix and balance of all types of questions that you will find on the test. Okay. Now, the scoring has changed a bit. So it is now on a scale of 205 to 805 with increments of 10, meaning your score, you can get 205, 215, 225, and so on. Right? That is how the entire scoring is going to be. Okay. Your sectional scores will be on a scale of 60 to 90. Okay. With increments of 1. All right. And here, your total score is basically calculated on the basis of all the 3 sections. So your verbal, quant, DI, you'll get a separate score on 60 to 90, and then that will give you a total score out of 800. Okay. Are we clear here, guys? Any questions? A quick yes or no from your end will really help us move a little faster as well. So I suggest you guys be a little active on the chat. That'll help. Okay. Now, let's have a quick check on the syllabus here. Now, here on the math, you have arithmetic and algebra, just to give you an idea of what the entire syllabus is. Let's have a quick look at the topics. So here is a detailed list of all the topics that you'll be tested on. Sum is not 805 for all 3 sections. No, it is for all 3 sections. That's what I said, right? Quant, verbal, and DI. Your sectional scores will decide what kind of total score you will get out of 805. All right. Here you can have a quick look at the remaining topics. So this is a detailed list of all the topics that you're going to find on the test. Okay. Now, on the verbal section, you have 2 types of questions, as I said, your reading comprehension and critical reasoning questions. When it comes to reading comprehension, you'll find passages based on social science, humanities, biological sciences, business related fields as well, marketing, economics, and HR. Right. So, but again, as I said, there is no reason, no need for any prior experience or prior knowledge of these topics. Right. All the information that you need is already there in the passage. Now, there are 5 types of questions on the reading comprehension that you need to prepare for. So all of these questions have their own nuances. So main idea, supporting idea, inference, application, and evaluation are the common question types that you obviously need to prepare for. Now, again, all of this is something that we cover in our training program in a lot more detail. Same goes for both math and verbal, right? Critical reasoning, definitely one of the more interesting sections of the test. All argument based questions, very logical, very high scoring section, this one. So you have analysis, construction, critique, and plan. These are different categories in which you have these questions. And eight different types of questions is what you'll find. So you have a weakening, strengthen, inference, assumption, paradox, boldface, all different types of questions, and we cover them separately in our training program. So it's quite important to learn the process for these questions, the trap answers that you'll find, and what is the task really on each of these questions. Now, when it comes to data insights, let's have a quick look at all the question types. Now, this has obviously a math and a verbal component to it. Primarily, it's math. There are few questions which are argument based as well. So that is what the entire this thing is going to be. Now, multi-source reasoning. This is the one which takes a bit of time. You can say this is a time-consuming question on the DI because there is a lot of information presented in the form of different tabs and all. So you'll have text, tables, graphs, and all this in in different tabs, and you'll have to decide which tab is required to answer that particular question, and you'll have to use that information, right? So there are two types of questions. You have a multi-source, multiple choice question, and then you have a yes, no, true, false, inferable, not inferable, binary question that you get. Now, here, a table analysis question is basically one where you have a sortable table which you can sort with respect to columns, and then use that information to answer the question. Then we have the two-part analysis, as the name suggests. There are two parts given to you, which are obviously related in some manner. And then there is a question which is there in the third column, the answer choices appear. So you select your response for each of the columns, or each of the parts, as you can say. And of course, the answer choices in the third column. Then you have graphic interpretation, as the name suggests, a plot or an XY graph or a bar chart, pie chart, a lot of different types of charts are presented, and you'll have to answer the question. The interesting thing is the answer choices are in the form of a drop down menu here. So you'll have to just click on that and the answer choices will appear. Data sufficiency is definitely a typical math question wherein you have to solve for sufficiency. You have to identify if the information is sufficient or not. You don't have to solve for value here. Five different answer choices which have a very different understanding. So you got to understand your answer choices as well. So A part simply means that statement one alone is sufficient, right? There is a question and then there are two statements given to you, and you have to decide which one is sufficient to solve. B part means B statement two alone is sufficient. C part means both statements are required. D part means each statement alone is sufficient. And E part simply means that neither of them is sufficient, right? And that is how the entire question is designed. This is what the entire syllabus of your GMAT exam is going to be, right? So before we dive into this, I mean, any questions so far related to syllabus or this thing, guys, everyone? Estimated time to cover the syllabus. You can have all your general queries at the end, guys. I'm talking about whatever we've just discussed related to that. If you have any query, however, just in case you asked, so that depends on when you start and all. Ideally, in the online program, it takes about 2 months to cover the syllabus, and then you obviously have your mock test, sectional tests post that. All right, guys. So, as I said, a quick response from you will really help us. I would need your cooperation here. Anyways, let's move forward. Now, so here, let's talk about the critical reasoning questions. Now, this is, as I said, definitely a very important and an interesting question type here. So, quite fun to solve as well. Now, here, there are 8 different question types as we discussed, and the strategy to all of these questions is also very different. How you solve an assumption question is very different than how you go about an inference question for that matter, right? So obviously you need to be very clear in your understanding of what the task is, what the trap answers are going to be, because there are a lot of different types of questions. So first thing that we need to understand is what is an argument, because all of these questions are argument based. Now, any critical reasoning argument presented to you is basically made up of 2 components. First is the premise, which is basically the evidence, the reasoning part that the author has provided. And conclusion is the main point, the central idea that the author presents, right? Which is based on the evidence that is already given to you. Any critical reasoning argument will logically have these 2 components, the evidence and the main point. Think of it like a TV commercial, right? So, I mean, any advertisement more or less is trying to conclude or convince you to buy the product. And there is some sort of reasoning logic that is given to you in order to convince you. That is basically the premise. Here is an example for you. Have a look at this, everyone. And can you tell me what seems to be the conclusion here? Please go ahead. Yeah, absolutely correct, guys. Clearly, the conclusion is a sandwich with cream is more helpful than is a sandwich with butter on it. Absolutely correct. Wonderful. Now, that is what you have to do primarily. Once you have this, all you have to do is identify or just ask yourself why the author has concluded this, right? Once you ask why, then obviously you will get the response. As in this case, clearly the response is that cream contains 50% fewer calories, and therefore we are saying a sandwich with cream is more healthful. So as you can clearly see, as a strategy, all you have to do is identify the conclusion, which would be relatively easier since it's the main point, and then take the Y test and find the premise, right? That is how you can actually break any argument that is given to you. All right. Why sandwich? Any food where primarily butter is used if substituted with cream will be helpful. Uh, Not sure what the question is, Dityendu, because if we go back to the argument, it clearly says a sandwich with cream is more helpful, right? And therefore, right? So you don't add information, guys. You don't assume things on your own, right? We keep it simple. Just go by what is given to you, and that should be quite sufficient for you to answer that. I hope that is clear to everyone. Right. So here then, I have a typical GMAT style question here. Please go ahead, have a look at this. Let's see. What is the question here? As in, what do we do? Exactly what we just learned, Riti, here. Guys, please pay attention, right? We just learned how to break the argument. You read the argument. Please find the conclusion premise. That's what the strategy is, right? You find the components, you break the conclusion, ask the why test, and obviously then that'll help you identify the premise. Please go ahead. All right, I guess some of us have answered this. And clearly, the conclusion is here. In this case, that the campaign did nothing. Okay, right. Don't try to mix the conclusion and premise, guys. Conclusion is quite clearly stated here that the campaign did nothing to further the economic interest, right? And it should be relatively easier as well because obviously you have, I mean, you already have read the argument. It's relatively easier. It's the main point, central idea, all of that. Therefore, it should be a little easier as well, right then. Now, the moment we ask why are we saying that the campaign did nothing, I believe there is a clear response to that. That on one hand, yes, the sales did go up, right? So on one hand, we are saying that the sales went up. However, since the profit is less than the cost of the campaign, we are saying that the campaign did nothing. So on one hand, the sales did go up. However, since the profit is less than the cost, we are saying that the campaign did nothing. Are we clear here, everyone? Wonderful. Now, based on the same argument, I have a question for you. Which of the following, if true, most seriously weakens the argument? So I have to simply weaken the argument here, right? And let's understand what does it even mean to weaken, by the way. In order to weaken, all you have to do is find an answer choice that will allow you to challenge the conclusion, that'll allow you to simply make the conclusion less probable, right? That's exactly what we are looking for. Okay. So here, in this case, if the conclusion was that the campaign did nothing, so in order to challenge, I'm looking for a choice that'll allow me to say that the campaign did something, right? All right. So here, guys, I have five answer choices for you. Have a look at it. Mark your choice on the poll. Please do not share your answer choices on the chat. The poll is live for you. Please go ahead. All right, guys, I believe that's plenty of time here. Ending the poll now. In case you have not marked, please select your choice now. All right. Here, as you can see, only 70% people have answered, and you can see your choices are all over the place. All choices have been selected. Not a very good sign, though. Let's have a look at it. A sales of canned tuna account for relatively small percentage. So what you need to understand is percentage is no measure of number base. Small percentage could still be millions, right? Therefore, saying small percentage will not help me weaken anything here. Therefore, airport was a trap. Most of the people who bought Diet's Cantina for the first time as a result of the campaign were already loyal. If they were already loyal, then campaign or no campaign, they would have gone for the same brand, right? Therefore, this is a choice that you must get rid of. A less expensive advertising campaign would have brought in significantly fewer new customers. This is what we call as an out of scope answer choice. All it is helping me say is that another less expensive campaign would have been even worse. But does that mean this campaign was better? Absolutely not. Right? So clearly, this will not help me say anything, because then another campaign would be better does not indicate that this campaign would have been, or it would have been worse, does not mean that this campaign is better or not. Right? Therefore, diets made money. We already know they made money, right? Because they have sold 12 million as compared to 10 million. So obviously, we know they have made money. The question is how much? Because we know for a fact that profit is less than the cost. Therefore, the only logical choice was EPOT. In each of the past 5 years, there was a steep industry wide decline, meaning at a time when everyone's sales are going down, right? This company's sales went up 12 million versus 10 million. So, obviously, at a time when everyone's sales are going down, this company's sales went up. Obviously, the campaign did something, because if not for the campaign, forget 12 million, they would have sold 2 million in total, right? And therefore, guys, this has to be the right one. Are we clear here, everyone? Can you please repeat fourth option wrong? Why it is? Okay. Fourth option is wrong, Sudipta, because it says they made money. Okay, they made money. But then we also know that the profit is less than the cost. So that money is less than what they have spent. And therefore, campaign did nothing, which is exactly what the argument is suggesting. Then how would it weaken, right? How are we concluding past 5 years data? Not sure what you mean. How are we? It's given here, right? In the past 5 years, there was a steep industry-wide decline. We are not concluding anything, guys. We are only going by what is given to us. Why is it right choice? Okay, because as I explained here, it says in each of the past 5 years, there was a steep industry-wide decline. So for the past 5 years, the industry is suffering a decline, meaning all other companies are facing a decline. At such a time, if this company's sales went up, obviously the campaign did something, because if not for the campaign, then forget 12 million. As I said, they would have sold 2 million in total. Therefore, campaign has been helpful. Yes or no? Ditendra, is that clear? Would be better if you allow people to speak. You, if you want to speak, there you go. You can now unmute and talk to me.
Yeah, so Mayur, what I was saying is, why the last option, how are we able to say that there was a steep industry-wide decline in the sales of
Because
canned?
it is written, right? It's given here.
No,
I'm
but
not adding it.
these are
Right,
the options, right? These are the
right,
options.
right,
Why is
right,
the
right.
last option the correct option?
As I explained, the reasoning is because if there is a steep decline and at such a time, if you are able to increase, then the campaign did something.
Weakens the argument, okay?
Weaken, right? Because the campaign did nothing was the argument. I have to say that the campaign was helpful in some way. E part helps me to say that.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah. And just in case, I guess what your actual query is that where is it given in the argument, right? I believe that's what is confusing you. That it's not given to me in the argument. How do I, assume this? Probably, if I'm understanding it correctly.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Like, how are we assuming that the last 5 years data? That's what I
Right,
want.
exactly. To answer that, there is absolutely no reason to even think like that. The first thing, if you pay attention, guys, have I eliminated any choice saying that it is not given to me? If you look at that logic, none of the choices are given to you in the argument.
Mm-hmm.
By that logic, no choice can be correct because none of this information is there in the argument, is it there?
No.
So same logic I can apply for all choices in that case. How do I know this? For that reason only, they have already mentioned. Please read. Which of the following, if true? I have to assume all choices are true. Then what will happen?
Okay.
Never eliminate a choice saying ki, this was not given to me, right? Because they're already saying you assume it is true. Then what happens? I hope that answers the question.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So I have another one for you. Here, please have a look at this. Go ahead, have a look. Try and identify the conclusion and premise. Please go ahead. All right. So clearly, the conclusion here is that the complaints are unwarranted, guys. That is the conclusion, just in case, I guess, there was confusion. Traffic has not increased. That's a fact, Shashwat. That's already given to you, right? That's not the conclusion here. You can't deny facts. Okay. So the conclusion here is that the campaign, oh, sorry, the complaints are unwarranted. Okay. That is the this thing. Okay. Now, the moment you ask yourself why is this the conclusion? I think the answer to that is that highway capacity has tripled. So highway has tripled, whereas number of vehicles only increased by 75%. So there are more roads than there are vehicles, and therefore we are saying that the complaints are not really warranted, right? That's the whole idea here. I guess that is clear to everyone. Now, same thing, we have a weakening question here. So in this case, weaken would mean that the complaints are warranted. In other words, that the traffic has increased. I hope that's clear to all, right? If that's clear, then I have the answer choices for you. Launching the poll, guys, please go ahead. Mark your choices on the poll. All right, guys, I think that's plenty of time here. Here, if you look at your poll results, again, a lot of choices have been selected. Now, in this case, if I look at A part, most automobile travel is local, and the network of roads and streets in the country's settled areas have changed little over the last 20 years, is absolutely the right choice. Now, it helps me say that. Now, you were saying that the highways has tripled, right? Now, it says that the travel is local and these roads haven't really changed much. And on top of it, I know that the number of vehicles has gone up. So clearly, we can say that the traffic has gone up, that the traffic has increased. Therefore, A part absolutely should be the right one. Gasoline prices are high and miles traveled per haven't really changed. Does not really help me indicate that the traffic has increased. If they have well developed public transit system, in that case, all the more reason the traffic should be less. Average age of automobiles registered in the country is now lower. If the average age is lower, that does not really indicate either. And radio stations have long been broadcasting regular traffic reports. If anything, it can only lead to low traffic. It can't really increase the traffic. Are we clear here? All right. So as you can see, guys, these are the different types of questions that can really help you, you know, understand what to do and how to go about them. That will definitely be helpful. Here, let's talk about the reading comprehension part. So I wanted to share a pattern with you. Please go ahead and have a look at this passage quick. All right, I believe everyone has read. Okay. So here, guys, what I want to show you is that this common pattern that exists, that if you look at the first paragraph of the passage here, right, it clearly presents you the main idea, which in this case is that the NASA programs have been the subject of ridicule, and this is the part that you may want to read slowly, right? The middle part of the passage, which presents the details about the main idea, is something that you can probably skip and need not read word by word or line by line. And again, towards the end, you'll find that it all comes down to the main point. The Columbus faced skepticism similar to what NASA is currently facing. This is the part that, again, you should pay attention to. So, as a pattern, what I want to tell you is that it doesn't matter if it is one paragraph or three paragraphs or four paragraphs, the initial part and the later part, or the initial paragraph or the later paragraph, is always going to be the more important part. This is where you want to pay attention. And the middle paragraphs, you can always read a little faster, not word by word. You can skim through that information. And that is going to be a better strategy. That way, you'll spend time where you need to spend time. Now, some of the key words, transition words that can help you navigate the passage better include your transitions, which can be contrasting or in the same direction, and time transitions such as until now, recently, since, later. These are all the words that can help you navigate the passage or the changes in the passage slightly better. Okay, so that is something that can definitely be quite handy when you're targeting to solve these passages in a shorter time frame, right? So that is how it can be. Okay, now, so this is what I wanted to share with you guys tonight to give you a quick introduction to what the entire exam is going to be. In case you have any questions for me, please go ahead. And for people who are not in the system, I'm sharing a form here, guys. Please fill it up. People who have already joined the program, you need not, guys. So for people who are here for the first time, please go ahead, fill the form. This is for our reference. Right now, for those of us who wish to know more about our GMAT prep or admissions related queries, guys, please feel free to reach out to us on the number here. You can fill up the form as well. And in case you have any questions for me, please ask. How many RCs do we have? Have four reading comprehension passages, Shashu. Long passages have 3 to 4 questions. Short to medium have 2 to 3 questions. difficulty of the RCs is similar. No, they're different exams, different types of passages. And again, the difficulty is something that adapts. Not really, Nitin. The GMAT does not explicitly test you on vocab. Do we see a lot of abstract passages too? Again, as I said, the passages are going to be from topics such as history, marketing, management, humanities, and all sciences as well. Yeah, yeah, you do. As I said, you do have passages of social sciences as well. But again, as I said, topic of the passage is not really that important because it's all about your ability to read and answer the questions. All right, then, guys. Thank you all for joining tonight. We'll see you in the sessions. All the best. And please reach out to us in case you have any further queries.